A vintage photograph showcased a younger Jungkook and Ryan, both smiling and holding hands, while Jungkook's one arm was around Ryan, capturing her in a headlock, and she had a fist raised up, probably to hit him with all she got. They were happy, with an innocence that had long been overshadowed by the darkness that consumed the current Jungkook, the one who was now 26 years old. The burden of the mafia family he belonged to fell on his shoulders, taking his innocence away. The room flickered with a soft glow of candles as Jungkook sat alone, his eyes fixed on the photograph. Memories of happier times invaded his thoughts, and he couldn't help but clench his fists in frustration. Jungkook's right-hand man, Arthur, cautiously entered the room, his eyes avoiding direct contact with his brooding leader. Arthur, boss, we got business with the Kimura family. They're pushing into our territory again. Jungkook remained silent, his gaze fixed on the photograph as he traced the outline of Ryan's finger with his finger. Arthur, boss, are you alright? You have been different lately. Word on the street is that you are losing control. Jungkook's eyes narrowed, a menacing glint surfacing beneath the cold exterior. Jungkook, control is an illusion, Arthur. It's time they remember who they are dealing with. Jungkook, you know, Arthur, people think I've gone soft, that I've lost my edge, but they forget what I'm capable of because I'm letting them off the hook. They took the bait. Arthur knew if his boss did something or let someone go, that was definitely because he had a bigger motive behind his move. Jungkook was known to be unforgiving. It was clearly obvious. Everyone outside was talking about how he had forgave a few people. Arthur, you loved her, didn't you? He asked out of the blue, mentioning the girl in the photograph. Jungkook's jaw clenched and he turned away, staring out the window at the city below. Arthur didn't know what it was he felt in that moment, but he surely noticed the change in atmosphere. A dark aura had subsided into something regret and grief. Jungkook, we have business to attend to. The Kimura family will learn that crossing us is a mistake. They won't live to regret. The rage inside Jungkook that he had for Kimura family was like a ticking bomb. This Kimura family was the main reason he was forced away from Ryan, his love, to train, be a monster, one day be able to take them down. Now he had everything, the power, the might, the empire that stood at the same level as Kimura, but he didn't have his love. He lost his heart to her. He lost her. He had promised himself one thing, and he was going to fulfill it to win Ryan again after he takes down Kimura family, to make her his again. After a week, the moon hung low in the night sky as Jungkook approached the house where Ryan had chosen to build a new life away from the criminal world. He moved with a little grace, shadows embracing him like loyal allies. The night he had decided to meet her after years of separation, there were thoughts that made him happy, imagining her happily moved on with her life and hoping for her to have found her happiness. That were the exact same thoughts that terrified him. What if she was over him? What if she doesn't accept him again? Jungkook's heart raced with anticipation of facing Wine once again, stirring emotions he had long suppressed. He reached the doorstep, his gloved hand hesitating before the cold rap of his knuckles echoed through the quiet night. Wine cautiously opened the door, her eyes widening in shock as she beheld the imposing figure before her. He wore a hood, which drowned him in the exact shadows he was built with. He had grown quite tall and muscular. One had to take a minute to take him whole in. Looking at her, he didn't know what she felt in that moment. There was pain in her eyes, but the shock overtook it as she cautiously stood guarded on the doorstep. Wine, Jungkook, what are you doing here? Jungkook's intense gaze bores into hers, a complex mixture of longing and regret in his eyes. Jungkook, we need to talk, Wine. It had been years. Why did he come back now to test her again? After leaving her midway alone, she looked away, her grip tightening against the doorknob. She hesitated but eventually stepped inside, allowing him entry. The air inside was thick with tension as memories of their shared past lingered like ghosts. Wine, talk about what, Jungkook? It's been years. Jungkook, about us, about what I did. I need you to understand, to know that I would do anything to make things right. Wine folded her arms, a defensive posture that betrayed the emotional turmoil within, the storm that built inside of her in a once peaceful evening. Wine, you think a few words can erase the pain you caused? You changed, Jungkook. You became a monster, and I have nothing to do with you anymore. Jungkook, I did what I had to do to protect you, to protect us. I see now. I lost myself along the way. He watched her taking a seat away from him. That alone was enough to bring a crack to his dead heart. Jungkook, it's been years. We were happy. I could never forget you, Ryan. Even with everything going on, you were the only one on my mind. I needed to finish everything that brought us apart, to come back to you. Ryan, I can't just forget Jungkook. You broke something in me. Like you said, it's been years. I had a hard time moving on. Please don't make it hard for me again. I can't take it again. Can't have you leave me midway again. Jungkook, then I'll prove it to you. Vine stood up, taking a deep, shaky breath. It was getting harder for her to keep herself in control. She was slowly losing it. Having seen him after years were already much of a shock to her. Ryan, please leave. Don't make it any harder for me. Leaving me was your choice. Not accepting you again is mine. Jungkook saw the pain in her eyes, the little shake of her hands, which was trying to hide. He hated causing her pain, but it was the exact thing he needed to know. She still cared. For what he knew, winning her again was his only life mission. If he lost it, all of the sacrifices he made would go to waste. His life wouldn't matter anymore. He wouldn't want to live anymore. Jungkook, Ryan, can you give me a chance to explain? Please. She shook her head with such anger that shook his ground. She marched up to the door and held it open, while her eyes returned to her, those eyes filled with betrayal and anger. Ryan, I told you, don't make it hard for me. After all this, you never had a right to come back and put me in this situation. Whatever your plan was, you should have told me. You should have involved me. All the plane and went through. Was that a joke to you? Ryan, get up, Jungkook. I want you to leave. She yelled, yet her voice broke. Remembering the painful time, all those days she cried herself to sleep, missing his warm embrace, where she used to feel the safest. He stood up, his eyes never leaving hers. Those eyes, which never knew how to cry, got wet, reflecting a shade of red which matched one's blood. Jungkook, I'm going to take down Kimura. If I win this, if I return from this alive, I'll come back and win you. To be continued.